Enthusiastic, welcome back to Chronicles of Tech, the podcast where we dig through the fascinating, and sometimes scandalous, stories behind the technology we can't live without.
Playfully, and today, we're diving into the wild world of ride-sharing. But not just Uber's rise to the top. Oh no, we're also unwrapping the candy-coated shell of the internal culture that led to some shocking, and I mean shocking, reveals.
Teasingly, but here's a question to keep you on your toes. What if I told you that the very company that revolutionized transportation almost crashed and burned due to its own internal drama?
Leaning in, stick around until the end of the episode, because we're going to unravel that mystery. Spoiler alert, it involves some juicy corporate drama, whistleblowers, and one very infamous CEO.
So, let's kick this off. Uber was launched in 2010, right? It started out as a simple idea, luxury car service at the push of a button.
Nodding, exactly. It was founded by Garrett Camp and Travis Kalanick. And I don't know about you, but if an app can magically make a car show up at your location, I'm already sold.
Chuckling, true. But the real magic comes from how they turned that idea into a multi-billion-dollar company. They took a pretty straightforward premise and made it not just trendy but essential for so many urban dwellers.
Speaking of essential, did you know that the name Uber comes from a German word that means above? It's quite fitting, don't you think? They aim to be above the competition in every sense.
Enthusiastically, I love how you snuck in a little linguistics lesson there. But things weren't all smooth sailing. We've got to discuss the rocky roads Uber faced in terms of regulations and competition.
Seriously, definitely. They often skirted regulations in many cities, leading to significant debates. Taxi companies, very understandably, were pretty ticked off. Who doesn't love a good turf war?
Laughs, turf wars, who knew they could involve so many fewer suits? Or should we say suits on wheels they could just summon via an app?
Right, so as Uber grew, so did its controversies. You know, the scandalous tales behind the scenes.
With a wink, and not the fun, we accidentally spilled coffee everywhere kind of drama.
Snickers, oh no. More like we hired a few not-so-great people type of stories. I mean, it was a wild west out there.
Amused, a fabulous theory of the workplace. You throw a bunch of young, ambitious people into one room, free pizza, and lots of caffeine, and chaos ensues.
Chuckling, right? The infamous internal culture at Uber was marked by a lack of accountability and some pretty heavy-handed tactics from Kalanick.
Seriously, yeah, the infamous bro culture. There were reports of sexism, harassment, and a cutthroat mentality. Not exactly the ideal work environment.
Size, and then there was the 2017 blog post by Susan Fowler that really opened the floodgates. She detailed her experience while working at Uber, which included instances of sexual harassment and the apparent lack of serious responses from HR.
Thoughtful, it's baffling to think how those issues weren't addressed sooner. For a company with such a cutting-edge service, you'd expect cutting-edge ethics too.
Eagerly, exactly. And we can't talk about this without mentioning the fallout. About a year after Susan's blog post, the company came under heavy fire, leading to public outcry and employee walkouts.
Dramatically, and it resulted in Travis Kalanick resigning from his CEO position. Talk about poetic justice.
Smiling, here's the ironic twist. Uber finally started to change its internal culture. They hired new executives to shift the atmosphere, hire more women, and improve workplace dynamics.
And, in a surprising move, new CEO Dara Khosrowshahi promoted transparency and accountability. Who knew, right?
Playful, who knew an app that hails a ride could give us a crash course in corporate ethics?
Chuckles, right. And they also got into the self-driving car race. The evolution of Uber reflects both the best and worst of tech innovation.
So, remember that intriguing question we posed at the start? What if I told you that a commitment to innovation led Uber right into a cultural crisis?
Jokingly, and one of the biggest lessons is that you can't just innovate without integrity. Otherwise, you might find yourself in a bit of a pitfall, like Uber experienced.
lightheartedly. So, whether you're hopping in the back of an Uber or a competing service, it's always good to know a little of the story behind the brand, right?
Enthusiastic, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in to Chronicles of Tech. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a shout out on social media if you enjoyed today's ride.
Laughs. See you next time, tech enthusiasts. Don't forget to buckle up. Who knows what we'll discover next?
And remember, the wheels keep turning, and so does technology.
With a smirk, literally, and maybe even in a self-driving way.